Hello, imaginary friends, and welcome to the Imaginaries Literary Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the Imaginaries Literary Podcast. I'm Caleb, and with me is Daniel and Timothy. We are all aspiring authors. We write a lot, and so today we will be reading a short story by me. It's called The Banshee. I hope that you enjoy it.
The Banshee. Pale moonlight streaked between the shadows of the ancient oak trees of the northern forest. A light breeze whistled through curved branches and swept dried leaves into piles at the foot of the solitary home buried deep within the forest. Not much noise came from inside the home. It was bedtime. So, naturally, the parents were tired and the kids strained silently to stay awake. A small light on the uppermost floor flickered through the shadows. It was the boys' room. Kieran, the elder brother, was always on an adventure, no matter the time of day or night. He stalked through his room with a torch, heading towards his younger brother's bed. Liam, however, was quiet and pretty much scared of everything. He'd rather snuggle up to Mum near the fireplace than hunt the bodach in the rain with his fearless brother. Kieran slapped a hand across Liam's lips, waking him and muffling his screams. Kieran shushed his younger brother and removed his hand. Liam fixed his bent nose and wiped his mouth clean.
"Why'd you do that, Kieran?"
"Be quiet and follow me," Kieran instructed as he exited the room. Liam still lay in bed, confused and peeved because that dream of a house made of candy had been really good. Kieran stormed back and pulled Liam out of bed.
"Come on!"
The two brothers crept down the twisted stairs, trying to prevent the old wood crying creaks that would no doubt wake Mum and Dad.
"What we doing?"
Kieran shushed him.
Won't Mum and Dad be mad that we're out of bed?
Kieran pinched his lips so tightly that they turned white. He hushed his brother again and mumbled something like, "Can't wait till you're fixed." Liam's eyes fell to the steps. Kieran was always going on about how Liam was scared of everything. Fairies, kelpies, fadari, even his own shadow. And he was right. Liam was scared of all these things, but didn't know how not to be. He tried to be brave on adventures, but failed. Kieran was always so disappointed. It hurt Liam's heart. So, knowing this was another one of Kieran's adventures, Liam mustered up some courage. But then he saw the shadow of someone in the kitchen. He pulled Kieran close to the wall just as his father passed the stairway. Liam smiled up at his brother, thinking he had done something right, but Kieran only glared and continued more cautiously. When they reached the bottom of the stairs, Kieran held Liam back. Father was cutting bread on the island in the kitchen. Liam prayed his brother would give up and return to the comfortable bed. Instead, Kieran's eyes lit up and he pulled Liam into a jump that landed both of them underneath a table. Father stopped cutting, and all Liam heard was his own heartbeat. After mumbling about some red squirrels in the walls again, Father returned to his food. Kieran beamed a smile and motioned to his little brother to crawl on all fours. Kieran crept past the kitchen, next to the island counter, and over to the front door. The fireplace crackled and popped, helping muffle the boys' escape. Liam followed, but unfortunately his pyjamas got caught on a nail sticking up from a loose floorboard.
"Kieran, help!"
Liam whispered. Kieran scowled and shook his head.
"Kieran!"
Liam whined, low enough for Father not to hear. Kieran shook his head again and pointed at Liam.
"You need to do it,"
he mouthed. Liam screwed up his face and pulled until, rip, he tore free, leaving a large hole in his trousers. He beamed as he crawled on, but Kieran just looked annoyed and ushered Liam out of the creaky front door to the garden. Now, out in the biting cold, Liam's fear rose to a level it hadn't been in the warm house. He spun to face the home. Maybe looking at it would warm him. But the silhouetted, twisted three-story house sent shivers down Liam's spine. Nighttime made everything scary. The moon loomed behind the home. The vines that crawled up the walls slithered with every breeze. The twigs framing the windows tapped and scraped the glass. Glowing eyes blinked from within the brick chimney.
"What we doing?"
Liam asked. His words came out as smoke.
"Quiet,"
Kieran hissed.
No talking until we get in the forest.
But you just spoke.
A punch to the arm from Kieran silenced Liam until the two were deep in the forest. He always punched Liam when they were away from Mum and Dad. As the trees closed round the brothers, the home disappeared, and Kieran came to a rest.
All right, it's safe to talk,
he said. Liam breathed heavily.
Why are we here? Mum and Dad said to stay out in the forest at night.
He asked while looking around for danger.
Why shouldn't we?
Kieran grinned at his little brother.
Because the things in the forest, dangerous things like wolves and foxes and badgers, even the owls. Have you seen the size of the one on the oak tree? Looks as if it could carry me away, so says Mum.
Kieran laughed loudly.
It's not funny, Kieran, Liam said. It's not my fault I'm small.
Kieran continued laughing. Liam scowled.
Mum says I'll be twice your size when I'm your age.
Mum had said no such thing, but brothers sometimes lie to make themselves feel better. Kieran stopped laughing.
I thought you knew about the real dangers of the forest.
Real dangers?
His heart hammered against his chest.
What real dangers?
Pukas and werewolves flashed in his mind.
Something far more dangerous than a few small dogs and some birds. I brought you out tonight to become a man.
Kieran paused and searched for the fear in his brother's eyes.
A man? Mum calls me her little man already.
A little man isn't a real man. Not like me and Dad. When you are a real man, you won't be a chicken anymore.
I won't?
Liam asked.
Wait, I'm not a chicken.
Kieran laughed again.
I'm not.
Liam lied. He frowned and crossed both arms across his chest. Kieran shook his head.
Yeah, you are. And it's a pretty bad case. So for you to be a man, we need to face one of the forest's most terrifying and elusive creatures.
Kieran was being dramatic and turned toward the moon. Liam thought for a moment.
Do you mean the chupacabra?
Kieran spun back round to face his brother.
What are you, an idiot? There's no such thing as a chupacabra in Ireland. That's in the Americas.
Liam sighed in relief. He hated stories about that ugly beast. Kieran continued.
We're looking for a banshee.
The grin on Kieran's face doubled, so that every one of his teeth sparkled. Liam gasped, but his shoulders relaxed and he pursed his lips.
What's a banshee?
He asked.
You don't know?
Kieran sighed.
I can't believe.
He sighed again and ran his hand from the top of his face to the bottom.
A banshee roams these forests, wailing and crying. She's frightful and fearsome.
Liam's eyes were as wide as saucers, and he held his breath.
That doesn't sound too bad.
His voice shook. Kieran pursed his lips.
A banshee collects the souls of the dead.
Liam gasped.
They dead?
Kieran nodded slowly.
And if she happens to catch someone still alive, she'll take their soul too.
He swiped both arms toward Liam, as if he were going to grab him in a bear hug. Liam backed away and tripped over a root. He screamed when he fell over. Kieran ran to his brother, laughing, and helped him up.
Calm down,
he said, holding Liam's shoulders and looking his little brother directly in the eyes.
You need to do this, to be a man. Dad said so.
He did?
Liam said. Kieran nodded.
Sure he did.
Liam stared into his brother's eyes.
I don't want to, Kieran. Let's go back home, please.
Come on, you wimp. Get going,
Kieran said.
No,
Liam replied.
I'm too cold and I don't have shoes,
he said. But what he really meant was that he was too scared.
Fine,
Kieran said mockingly.
You can walk home alone.
He turned away.
I came out to find a banshee, so I'm going to. Maybe it will make me twice as manly.
He walked into the darkness.
You'll never be a man like me and Dad until you find a banshee.
Liam watched as his older brother disappeared into the shadows of the forest. Even though it was cold, sweat broke out across his whole body. He spun to look for the house, but it was out of sight. He was afraid to go home alone in the dark, but also scared to find the banshee with his brother.
Maybe I am a chicken,
Liam said.
Maybe I should go with Kieran to be a man.
Now, the forest can be an awful trickster, and fool even adults into doing things they'd never dream of doing. So while Liam struggled with what to do, the forest played a dirty trick. A little baby pine marten woke up for no reason and stretched under a pile of leaves beside Liam's feet. The noise filled him with such dread that he screamed as loud as he could and ran for his brother.
Kieran, I need you. I want to be a man. Hold on.
The little baby pine marten sneezed, tucked under more leaves, and fell right to sleep, unaware that it had been a catalyst to this young boy's rite of passage. The forest sighed, leaves danced, and trees swayed. All was right in the night. Under the light of the massive moon, the boys walked, side by side, breathing out misty breaths and stepping lightly in their mud-covered bare feet. They walked through a wooded valley and ducked under an enormous fallen tree. They passed through a babbling stream that drowned out all the forest sounds. Liam slipped on the moss-covered rocks and almost fell deep into the water. Luckily, he caught his balance.
Come on, Liam. We don't have all night,
Kieran said.
The Banshee disappears in the daylight.
Liam hurried to his brother's side. Kieran paused at the stream's edge and studied their surroundings.
This way? Up there?
He said after a moment. He didn't sound confident. The two brothers climbed the massive hill parallel to the moon. The dried fallen leaves slipped under Liam and Kieran with almost every step. Liam fell on his face.
Kieran, help!
No, you gotta do it yourself, or else it doesn't work. I can't help you.
Liam sighed and clambered over the slippery leaves, trying to keep up. After they reached the top, Liam looked down into the empty valley. His shadow was as big as the trees' shadows.
Kieran, have you really seen a Banshee?
He asked, his teeth clattering from the cold, and maybe a little from fear too.
Sure,
Kieran replied.
Mum told me all about the Banshee when I was about your age, and when I asked Dad about it, he said he saw her when he was a kid. So I went in the forest and found her.
Liam was in awe of his bigger brother.
What happened? Well, I found her just walking around, so I yelled, "Oh, you ugly! You can't catch me!" Ran away before I heard it scream.
Because that's what Dad said he did.
Liam nodded. That didn't sound so bad.
He was confident that if he found the Banshee, he'd be as brave as his brother and father. Maybe. Sometimes it's easy to believe that you'll be brave when you're not in the midst of a frightful ordeal.
The brothers continued in silence, trudging up and down the hills. An owl hooted in the distance. Some small creature scattered up a tree, and something ruffled the leaves on the ground. Liam walked closer to his brother. He wanted to hold his hand, but Kieran kept slapping it away.
You can't help me? Not even a little?
Liam asked.
No, or you won't be a man.
Kieran looked down at his brother.
Is that what you want? To come all the way out here and not become a man?
Liam shook his head.
Good,
Kieran said with a grin.
Will I really be a man if we find the Banshee?
Liam asked. Kieran nodded.
I won't be scared of anything anymore?
Kieran shook his head.
Am I scared of anything?
Liam thought for a moment.
Maybe bats.
What?
Kieran said.
Mum says you must be since you hate taking them.
Kieran spluttered.
I'm not scared of anything, and neither is Dad. And you won't be either when you face her.
Liam nodded and felt a little braver than before. Maybe the world wasn't a scary place after all. The two continued with more climbs of slippery hills. The night grew colder, fear ebbed away, and Liam grew bored.
I'm cold and tired, Kieran,
he said when the two reached a bowl-shaped valley.
We're not going to find anything tonight. Let's go back home,
he pleaded. Kieran sighed.
I'm getting tired too. Maybe it'll be good to get some rest tonight and find the Banshee another night.
Kieran looked back at his younger brother. Liam's eyes had grown double in size. His gaze fixed on something behind Kieran.
What's wrong?
Kieran asked. Liam tried to form the words, but they didn't come immediately.
Look. Up. There.
Liam spat out and pointed high up on a hill. Kieran turned. A shadowy figure floated on the top of the hill, its black cape flapping in the wind. The moon sat bright and bold behind the hooded, long-nosed creature. It grinned behind the dark hood, flashing its glowing, razor-sharp teeth.
It's the Banshee,
Kieran said.
Quick, say the line.
What line?
Tell her, oi ugly, you can't catch me.
Kieran said, pushing Liam forward. Liam swallowed hard. The Banshee floated up and down, staring at the boys. Liam tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. After looking back at his brother, Liam cleared his throat and mumbled.
Oi, ugly, you can't catch me.
Say it louder. I can barely hear you.
Kieran said.
You can do it.
With confidence from his brother, Liam stepped forward and yelled.
Oi, ugly, you can't catch me.
The Banshee reared back. A scream that sounded like a howl from a dying cat filled the valley. Liam's mouth fell open. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end, and he had the urge to pee.
Run!
Kieran shouted, grabbing Liam and spinning him round. Now turning away from the Banshee, Liam overcame his fear and ran out of the valley, Kieran right behind him.
Why did we do that?
Liam said. Kieran said something along the lines of,
I don't know.
and
I didn't know she'd do that.
the Banshee flew down the hill into the valley, chasing the two small boys. The brothers ran over the slippery hills and through the wet valleys, the whole time hearing the hair-raising screams of the Banshee growing closer.
Don't look back!
Kieran yelled to Liam. But like any young boy told to do something, Liam did the opposite. He looked over his shoulder and saw the pursuing Banshee. Her bone-white skin glowed like the moon. Her ratty grey hair whipped round. Her wide, pale eyes pierced the darkness, and her pointed teeth flashed. Her claw-like hand reached toward the boys. As soon as her eyes met Liam's, the Banshee wailed, and the noise shook Liam's chest. He slipped on a rock, falling to the ground.
Kieran!
He cried. Kieran skidded to a halt, grabbed his brother's shoulders, and with a groan pulled him up. He was covered in mud and leaves.
Thanks.
Liam said.
Run!
Kieran demanded. The two ran as fast as they could through the trees without stopping. Finally they made it to the edge of the forest. The sight of their broken-down old house had never been so sweet.
We've made it.
Liam said with tears in his eyes.
Not yet.
Kieran said as another wail from the Banshee came from just behind them.
Let's go!
Once they arrived at the bottom of the stairs that led up to the house, a different scream filled the air, and both boys looked up to see the second worst sight they could have imagined. Their father opening the creaky front door.
What are you two doing out of bed?
Why are you both covered in mud? He asked sternly. The two boys looked at each other and exploded into two different explanations. It all sounded like gibberish. All right, that's enough. Get inside now, their father demanded. Kieran and Liam walked up the stairs slowly, knowing what awaited them in the house would be horrible. Better than facing off with that Banshee, but still horrible. When Liam reached the top step, he peeked back to the forest and thought he saw the Banshee's cloak at the edge of the trees. He gasped. Move it along, his father said, pulling him into the house. After a heavy scolding that lasted forever, the two boys lay in bed, silently staring at the ceiling.
Let's never do that again.
Liam said quietly.
Well, we don't need to.
Kieran replied.
What do you mean?
Liam asked.
We found the Banshee. You survived. You're a man, just like Dad and me.
Liam blinked and then smiled.
I'm a man.
Kieran nodded. The room fell silent again. Liam screwed up his face.
But, wait, if I'm a man, why was I still scared?
Kieran said nothing.
Liam continued.
And so were you. Does that mean it didn't work?
I don't know.
Kieran said.
Dad was wrong?
Liam said. Kieran squirmed in his bed.
Well, no. He actually never said finding the Banshee made him a man. I made that up. I just thought...
He sighed loudly.
I just thought it would make you, us, brave like him.
So, we're not men?
Liam asked. Kieran bit his lip.
Do you feel braver?
Liam thought.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess I do.
Then maybe somehow it worked.
Kieran said. The room fell silent again. Liam stared at the ceiling.
Kieran,
Yeah?
thanks for helping me.
Both brothers looked at each other.
Even though you weren't supposed to.
Anytime.
Kieran said. Liam smiled, and the two looked back up to the ceiling. In the hallway behind their bedroom door stood their father, silently watching and listening through the crack. A shadow grew behind him until it became the figure of a woman in a black cloak. "Hello, darling," he said. The figure removed her hood, the fake pointed nose, and the sharp teeth. It was Mother.
"Our boys tucked in for the night?"
Father nodded.
"You shouldn't have ever told them about a banshee,"
Mother said.
"Me? You started it. Sure, to keep them away from the forest."
Mother sighed and folded her disguise into the cloak.
"Well, we'll get next time."
Next time? I doubt there will be a next time. I think it worked. But maybe you went a wee bit too far, Father said, smiling.
"What do you mean?"
Father thought for a moment. "They told me you chased them through the forest screaming like the devil. I knew you had it in you." He chuckled.
"Love, I didn't see neither hide nor hair of either of our boys all night."
Father spun round.
"You're kidding."
A scream filled the night just outside the old home, in the middle of the forest.
Love it. Awesome. So the first thing
We
that I
love
want,
it. I love it.
well, the first thing that I want to talk about is Daniel. You're incredible. You're awesome. Your voices
Thank you.
are just, you brought, I'll say this. I felt very nervous sharing this. And
Oh.
then when I got your recording, I felt a lot less nervous. I was still nervous, obviously. I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could change that line. Oh my God, I could change this. I could change that. But yeah, you elevate it so high. So anyone who wants to hire Daniel for voice work, please do. DM us and we'll we'll get you
Appreciate
his
it.
info. But yeah, it'd be awesome. That's awesome. Great work. And I do want to give a shout out
Thank
to Cindy Krause. She's on Fiverr. She proofread and did some cultural stuff for me. She's in Ireland. I'm in the United States. And so I want to give her a shout out and say thank you very much. She did a great job. So if you're looking for some proofreading, specifically with Irish dialects or any cultural stuff, check her out. She's really, really good.
That's much appreciated. I don't like reading something and not knowing for sure. Because in America we have this habit of we tell the story, yes, from what we know, but it's more about what our heart knows rather than what our
Sure.
you tell the story from experience, but that doesn't mean you have to have actually done everything in the story, right?
Right.
So knowing that the dialogue and the customs, etc., are all correct, then
Yeah.
it's encouraging for me to know
Yeah.
that I'm going into it. I don't have to worry about that. It's already been done.
You can be confident. And so that gave me confidence as well, because I was like, oh, well, somebody else has read it. And they're like, yep, passes. Like there were certain things that she was like, well, where in Ireland is this? I don't know how much that actually it would be outside the norm, but it's not like so out
you
there
could do it.
crazy. Yes, exactly. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool.
Was it
I can
an
either change-
Americanism or?
Yeah, it's more of like the structure of the house is meant to be very strange. And she was like, no, so in Ireland it's first floor, and then if they have a second floor, it's going to have like the water heater in the second floor, and like all just like different weird things about houses and all that fun
Interesting.
stuff. And I was like,
I didn't even think of that stuff.
yeah, it's so weird. So she did, and then it made me feel really good. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. I wrote this a long time ago. I think I shared it with you guys when we were in Hawaii. I think I shared it, and so that was a
Yeah.
very long time ago. And
I think this was one of the first works of yours that I read.
yeah, and it was in a much rougher state. It was in a really rough state.
Was
But
it
it was-
before Triple M?
Yes, it was. Yes,
Okay.
it was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And because then I think that one, Triple M, is the monster, or the musician, his mansion, the monster coming for him. What a title.
Which I really liked.
Yeah, no, it's that one is probably one that I'm going to share here as well. at some
Cool.
point. There's a couple of short stories that I have that I really want to share, and that's one of them. And that one was really rough, and I'm gonna have to go through it and fix it, clean it up again. But yeah, this one was one of the first things that I wrote as a short story after I wrote the novel, my first novel. And so then this was just an attempt at, I had a short story in my head and I was like, I'm going to write it, and boom. And usually I would write these things to be like scripts. And then I would film them and like go out and do crazy stuff. But this one was, I wanted to specifically just write it as a short story. And so this was my first attempt. So
what was your initial inspiration for this story?
My initial inspiration, I would say it was like my upbringing. I have a lot of brothers, and they were all crazy, like me. I mean, I'm pretty out there, pretty wild. But I had some brothers that were more wild, and so a lot of Kieran is me, and some of my other brothers, and then Liam is some of my other brothers, because I have a lot of brothers, so it's like you can pick and choose, and like it's like kind of like a combination of all of our craziness is in Kieran, and then all of our timidness is in Liam. Even though like there's a desire in Liam to like please his older brother, which is 100% accurate in my life. I always want to please your older brother and impress him and do what he's doing, so so like that is very true in me, but then also in some of my other siblings that were way more timid. So I would say the inspiration was just kind of my life. Even though we didn't live in the woods, we lived adjacent to woods. So we had woods around us, and I would go into those woods every day. I would take my bikes into those woods, and I would go with my brother sometimes. Sometimes I would just go with friends. Sometimes I'd go alone. And it was crazy. The things that were in there, that's a whole other story, the things that we found. But yeah, I would say the inspiration was like literally from my life and my brothers, like our whole relationship. So
Did you find a nudist colony?
no, I don't know if that would have been better or worse for me. But no, we found stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. Dead bodies are
Find dead things?
Yes.
You found dead things?
Yes. Oh yeah. There's a guy who committed suicide in the woods.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was I was saved by my older brother from seeing it. So yeah, I mean, it was crazy because I was very young, and we heard that the guy was missing and nobody knew where he was. And they were like, oh, maybe he just went on a bender somewhere, because he had disappeared before, but he had a whole family. Like he had kids and a wife and stuff. So the guy went missing, and we rode our bikes into deep, deep, deep woods. And we were just walking around, and we were all smelling something that it was death. It was like bad. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And I started crossing the bridge, and my brother had already crossed and came running back and was like, nope, we're leaving. We're just leaving. We're going. We're leaving. And I was like, what is going on? What? Like, why? I don't want to leave. Like, this is fun. And so then later, we got home, and I don't think he ever told anybody. I don't think we didn't tell anybody anything.
With what?
Yeah, but they found him. Like the authorities found him. Somebody else found him. And my brother and I had a conversation after the fact, like, we were there, and that was crazy. And I just finished reading The Body again, by Stephen King. I don't know if any of you, if anybody has read that.
You had then just finished reading it, or you?
No.
Now?
Just now, I just reread it, and every time that I read it, I think of like my brother and I, and we were with at least one other person, one of our friends, and it was just every time I read The Body, I'm like, oh man, I totally understand. Yeah, so very different. So I definitely went on crazy adventures with my brother. That's just one of many. And we went on tons of crazy adventures, like Liam and Kieran.
There's something about when
Like kind of like your dad, when your older brother expresses fear all of a
Sure.
sudden
Mm-hmm.
and you're not used to it,
Yeah.
or expresses pain in an like, oh, they're really hurt. Like they don't usually, express it this much. Usually they're trying to be macho or
Mm-hmm.
stoic or whatever. And there's something about it, like when your brother is suddenly afraid, you're like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is that's happening right now, I need to sit up and pay attention because
Yeah.
either we're all about to die or like I'm going to start listening. Like if somebody tells me to do something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You're like
So
on
I
high
get what you're
alert.
saying.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely, it's very much high alert. Like, this is weird, but okay, I'll go along with whatever you're saying. But yeah. Yeah. And I tried to put that in the Banshee a little bit,
Yeah.
with when they see him and Liam is doing the thing, yelling at the Banshee.
Mhm.
And Kieran's like, no, get out. Like, we gotta go. We gotta go. And Liam is like, oh, you're scared too. Go, run. And then
Yep.
the end, when they have their little debrief when they're laying in bed, and he's like, but it didn't work because you were scared. And he's like, well, do you feel braver? Because when you go through things like that, to me, it's either one of two things happens. If you go through a scary experience and you come out on the other side, you're either too afraid to do that again, or you feel braver to where you can hit it again. You can,
Yeah.
or you can go out on another adventure again. And I feel like for Liam, that's what happened. I feel like he got a little bit braver, and he was okay. Not that anything magically happened. Like his brother was saying, Kieran saying, oh, you're gonna be a man. He wasn't a man.
But he didn't
by the end
die.
of it. But he didn't die. Right. He didn't
So-
die, and he got a little bit more brave by the end of it, so that the next adventure that they go on, he might not be so reluctant to go with his older brother. So
Which I think is a very very real take on rites of passage,
mhm.
because we often tend to think of rites of passage as being this magical thing that changes us fundamentally in who we are.
Sure.
But we don't actually change that way. Change is incremental. We grow little bits and pieces at a time as we experience things, as we go through things. And so it's easy to think of a rite of passage as like this magical moment where suddenly you're not afraid anymore.
Right.
It's like, no, you still feel afraid, but maybe you become that little bit braver.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through that enough times and you get braver. But it's not this magical all at once
Right.
thing, but a process, right?
Right. Well, what do they say? It's like courage isn't the absence of fear. It's like facing your fear instead of the absence of fear. It's being able to face your fear, or something like that. Somebody has said it way more eloquently than that.
Many people have said it.
Yeah, but everybody has fear. Like, fear is going to be something that we have in our lives no matter what. It's just what we do with that fear and how to build on that courage that we have, or lack of courage.
There's something in The Power of Myth about when Campbell's talking about rites of passage, and
Mhm.
he talks about how when you go through the experience, you go into the cave, you get painted, you get marred, like they actually cut you or whatever, and
Right.
you're going through this process, and it's terrifying, it's horrible. You come out and you are something different, not because you've experienced something that no one ever has, but because you've experienced something that those older than you have.
Right.
Like, so you never have until now experienced that.
Right. Right.
And so because now you belong to this other group of people. You are something different. So even though you have the fear, you've had the experience that shows you that fear is not the end. It's the beginning of the passage into the next part of you,
Right.
This other version of you.
Right. It's like, it's the way that our species, hands down, what would you say, like instinct. Like, so animals will hand down instincts to their offspring. So like cats will be instinctively scared of cucumbers and snakes. But we don't necessarily hand that instinct down. So then we have to do these rite of passages that get us to the next level so that we understand why this and why that. And very interesting, and it's fun, and it's something that is innate in all of human existence, all tribes and whatever else. Like, we've all done it, and so we still do it nowadays. And this is and for that, it was Liam and Kieran's rite of passage was this, and I hope it was a lot of fun. I hope it was good, and
For the rest of us, it's
people enjoyed
school.
I love your ending.
Okay.
I especially love the double twist at the end, where it's like, oh, it's okay, it was their mom. Like, they were never
Yep.
really in danger. And then she's like, I didn't see them at all. And you're like, wait, what? And then the scream, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, what actually is out there? Like,
Yeah.
what did they actually like run into? Yeah, because I feel like if it had just been the one twist, it would have been like, oh, okay, so there wasn't any magic. But like, having that bit of leaving us with the mystery,
Yeah.
is, it gives us something to really think about, like, once the story ends.
Mm-hmm.
That I really like. It's a really nice touch.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love the little debrief conversation that the kids have when they're back in their beds, and their both the process and the conclusions they come to, and for both of them, it's a really beautiful moment.
Awesome.
And reminds me of like deep conversations I would have with my brother at night,
Oh yeah.
when we were supposed to be
When you're
asleep,
supposed to
but
be
like,
Yep.
Deepest conversations happen at that time.
Everybody does it.
right. And so there is definitely that bit of like connection to that moment because of those conversations I had with my brother.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that just is really fun as well, because it's like, can see bits of myself in both of them.
I really appreciate their relationship too, and I appreciate that. Like, well, okay, so at first you think Kieran's just kind of out to terrorize his brother, but by the end you don't necessarily have that feeling. You feel like their relationship is more than that. It's not just like I'm going to come up with ways to dominate you. It's actually more like, we're brothers. I'm gonna give you an experience while I'm having one too, but my experience is just experiencing it vicariously,
Right. Yeah.
And I like the way that Kieran sort of makes it up. Like, he's just like, you know what I mean? Like, he has the story in mind, but then when they're actually doing it, he's like, also, you need to do this.
That's right.
And,
oh, and by the way, you have to say this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then he does it. And then he's like, no, stop doing it. We're leaving now.
run.
This is not what I intended.
Yeah. Yeah. They were really fun to write. And I thank you. I appreciate the kind words from both of you. Thank you. And they were definitely a lot of fun to write, and a lot of myself, came out in both of them, and my experiences and stuff came out in both of them. And I feel like they could have a lot more adventures. I just haven't been like struck by inspiration yet of what their next adventure would have been or would be. But I feel like there's lots of adventures that the two of them could go on and learn a lot of lessons and stuff. So basement
or attic or both.
Maybe. Oh yeah.
I had a similar experience when I was a kid. Like, my brother and I shared a bed. My older brother and I shared a bed. It was a big bed. But eventually the toenails started cutting, and then, anyway, true story. I was scared one night because I had this dream about witches in the basement.
Oh.
And so he was like kind of playing with it a little bit, like making sounds and whatnot. And I was like, I think I was like 5 or 6, so I was pretty scared.
Yeah.
And he kind of came to, and he was like, okay, there's nothing in the basement. I was just making stuff up. It's like, I'm just telling you stories. It's just for fun. And then I was like, no, I had a dream. It's real. And he's like,
probably inside thinking, you realized what you just said? Like, you had a dream. It's not real. It's like, it's a dream. But,
Right,
when
right.
you're 5 or 6, and my son does the same thing, like, he says, like, I'll say ghosts aren't real, and he'll say, but they are, because I believe in them. Like, explicitly says that.
Kids logic, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, because you are going to have to experience them, even if they don't appear to you in the normal way, they are real. So anyway, like, so my brother turns on all the lights, takes me out of bed, we go down to the basement together. It's, you turn on the light, but it's never bright enough. There's always some shadows here and there. And so I'm still scared. I can clearly see there are no witches anywhere. There's this little alcove that's kind of up on a shelf, and I'm like, what about up there? People could totally fit in there. And he's like, so if they're fitting in there right now, clearly they're scared of us. And I'm like, yeah, but they're there.
Fair point.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And so he's like, he grabs a flashlight from up the top of the stairs and he shines it in there, and he's like, see, nobody's there. And I'm like, what if they're invisible? And he's like, okay, so they're invisible, which probably means they can't really touch you, so they can't throw you in a cauldron, so et cetera, et cetera. So he's very reasonable. Anyway, I go back upstairs with him. I'm still scared, honestly, even though I saw that there was nothing in the basement. But I felt, though, that we had gone there together, just like in your story. And because we'd gone together, I felt that my brother was there.
Yeah.
And he was going to be next to me, experiencing at least some of the same fear, probably, even though I didn't really see it that much. And it doesn't matter. When you're together, the experience is not just more meaningful, but more survivable. That makes sense.
Definitely. I mean, like, to me, my brothers were my biggest enemy and my largest confidant. Like, they were the ones beating me up, or me beating them up. Yeah, depends on who tells the
As the
story,
case may
right?
be.
Yeah, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But then
All the
they
above.
would turn around and wouldn't let anybody get close to me that was going to harm me, or let
Right.
anything happen to me like that. There are many other cases where I had one of my specifically one of my older brothers was just with me all the time, and he like protected me from a lot of stuff. So, that's it. Brothers are awesome. Brothers are amazing, and to go through those things with them is like, that's awesome. And that story, Daniel, you may have just done something in my head. Liam and Kieran may just have to go look for some witches.
Coming up.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe.
May it be. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. One thing that I didn't want to say.
If you want Caleb to write that story, leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Sure. That's right. Yes. If you want to hear Liam,
make him write that story.
Yeah. If Liam and Kieran, if you want to see them go after some possible witches in the basement or in the attic, leave a comment down, like the video and comment. One thing
I think it's a perennial question: what's scarier, the basement or the attic?
Right. So what for you? What was scarier for you? Was it the basement?
Definitely.
Timothy, what about you?
Seeing as I've lived in more attics, basement.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be the basement for me too. My basement was really frightening, and the attic is where I went to go read The Hobbit all the time. So I was always up in the attic, like, read The Hobbit. So I loved it.
Yeah, but I had a friend or two who had, like, finished basements, and mine wasn't.
Mine wasn't.
Properly.
Mine wasn't either.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, and I think they were more scared of attics because that's where you stuff everything that's old and webby, and
And I feel like if there's Irish basements, they're probably not finished. They're probably like old wine cellars and stuff like that.
All right. Well, yeah, if we get enough likes and comments and stuff, then yeah, we got it. We're definitely gonna part 2 is coming. Their second adventure will come out. One thing that I wanted to say was, Daniel, your accents. I know that I already praised you, but your accents were awesome. I don't know how accurate
Thank you.
they are. They sound accurate to me. They sound awesome, and I feel like
I did watch some good videos.
Oh, awesome!
And so if they were flawed,
then it was the video
because I wasn't quite, getting the translation between what the video was communicating, but there were a couple of really good people that I watched.
Yeah, I thought they were awesome. They were so good. So if you are an Irish speaker, hopefully this gets to Ireland. I would love it if we got a huge following of Irish people, like watching this and enjoying these stories as well. I would love that. But I think I would love to hear what their take is on your accents, because I always think your accents are on point. I think they're awesome, but I can be wrong, So I'm curious what other people would think. So leave a comment, and what do you think of his accents? Because I think that they're awesome. They were perfect.
Okay, now I'm horrified.
No, don't be horrified. No.
Like all of the comments are going to be about how bad my accents are.
No, not at all. And if they are, I'm sorry, Daniel. I won't let you read them.
No, it's okay. Honestly,
I'll
that'd
shield
be
you.
fun. It'd be fun.
But like all the hashtags are going to be like Irish accent, Ireland. And so with that ends our episode. If you liked it, please share. And if you liked it, we're going to have a lot more of these. So subscribe. This is really bad. Like, please, you know the drill. Subscribe, like, share, all that other crap. Just do it, send it out, do the thing. If you like this content, please continue to watch and share and like and subscribe. And we're going to come out with a lot more stories. Timothy, I know, has a ton. We got to convince Daniel to put some of his out there. Come on, Daniel, get on it.
If you want to hear any of Daniel's stories, write a comment.
Oh my gosh, please. You guys don't even know, but you want to hear Daniel's stories. They're incredible. Probably one of the best writers of today. I'm
This
not
one
kidding.
time, I went into a giant bathroom.
No, he is fantastic. So if you are interested, please keep watching, keep listening. I know Timothy and I will definitely have a ton more content coming out, and Daniel will be reading them all, so it will be great. So, and no matter what, Daniel's influence is going to be on all of these stories. So thank you very much.
I would love that. Let's
yes, me too. So thank you, everybody, and come back next time. Peace.